Hey guys, I'm gaining a subscriber or two as the days go by, and I want to thank you for that, even if you're not watching. The closer I get to 1,000 um, subscribers, the better off I'll be. I need 1,000 so I can unlock some really neat features of YouTube. I'm not trying to build a huge platform. That's not my goal. My goal is um, just to teach, but I do I do need to get to at least 1,000. That way I can have access to some of the features that they lock me out of beforehand. So this episode will be episode 18, and it's going to be titled "Never Ending Attack and Disruption." And it's one of the Alinsky's, probably his greatest contribution to what goes on in the United States. You remember Alinsky is the guy who gave not just the roadmap, but the marching orders, the framework, the methodology for the radicals, the radical left, to infiltrate the United States government, everything like that. All the institutions now are controlled by the radical left. I'm on the YouTube platform. It's controlled by the radical left. Everything, like all of the power in the United States is held in their hand. And it's so interesting now, especially as a Christian, to watch this and to see how they've done this to a Christian nation, mostly because we've been asleep at the wheel, mostly because we lack organization, mostly we have come to equate peace and appeasement with godliness, and that is a whole other sermon on itself, because that's not right. And Christianity in the United States needs to wake up. Gatorade. Good stuff. So the quotes today for episode 18. The organizer must simultaneously carry out on many fronts, many functions, and many aims, as he analyzes, attacks, and disrupts the prevailing power pattern. The next page, there's a long quote here, so bear with me. Therefore, if your function is to attack apathy and get people to participate, it is necessary to attack the prevailing patterns of organized living in a community. The first step in a community organization is community disorganization. I'm going to stop here. I'll come back to it in a minute. What Alinsky is talking about in this passage is the need for the organization, the organizer, the new group out there, to attack constantly, never ending, never ceasing attack, just continuously hitting. But also disruption. An attack and disruption are two different things. If you want to disrupt, you need someone in the system to help break it down, to help cause the things that you can attack over. While attack is really the only tool you can have in the beginning, disruption becomes very, very possible. This is when you'd see a lot of like the protests going on that shut businesses down. That is a form of both attack and disruption. When you see people inside of a business who refuse to do X, Y, or Z, then that is a form of disruption. When you see the Twitter mob go after someone, that's a form of attack. And so Alinsky he's pushing this as one of the main things that an organizer needs to do. He says it's also good for you to bind together with other like-minded organizations so that you can aim and continuously hit a target, continuously attack. Because there are going to be times when you need to rotate out fresh men, right? So an organization is just tired of attacking, rotate in this other organization, right? And then once they get rested up, you can rotate them back in. We see this all the time on the political spectrum today with the left. It's just never ceasing. That's why there seems to be, the whole country is that way, and it's not. It's absolutely crazy. But they've got such a megaphone because they're using all these different radical organizations to attack. They're very nebulous. They keep moving, they keep hitting. It is very, very powerful. So your goal is to disrupt the daily goings on of whatever organization, group, status, anything that you can. And you make sure they can't even eat without being antagonized. We see this when the senators or congressmen, whatever, a couple of years ago, they called for anybody in the White House administration to be harassed, even if they go out to eat. And you saw radicals doing that. They did this to Sarah Sanders, and that was awful. She couldn't even eat. And the reason why people believe they're justified to doing this is because an organizer has painted it to where Sarah Sanders is the devil, right? And so they feel justified in ruining people's lives because they have bought into the idea that they are virtuous and that whoever opposes them is evil. This is standard Alinsky tactics. We've covered this before. Part of their method is support and sow chaos everywhere you can, because out of chaos, the radicals can ascend always. And so that's what they're trying. You see this around in a lot of the major leftist cities. You see them doing their best to sow chaos, to sow nobody knows what's going on. There's disinformation everywhere, and then they can seize the power. That's the point. And that's the point of this with Alinsky. He says all change means disorganization, and all change means disorganization of the old and new organization. So basically, even if it puts your own group in turmoil, right? Do it. Do whatever you can to disorganize and disrupt whatever you're attacking. And since Alinsky talks about organization and his aims were political, he's always talking about the political system. You see how they do this. Like, we always talk about the mainstream media being such a horrible source, and they are, because I fact check all my news sources now. I do. And I have fact checked these news sources, and they have a narrative, and they will cherry pick a story and make it fit their narrative. For instance, there's that passage in the Bible where Jesus tells I think it was a hypothetical about a thief, and he tells the thief to steal no more. But the mainstream media would cut it off after steal and says, Jesus said steal, and then he also said over here, go and do likewise. And he would put those two together, and then you have the mainstream media news source that Jesus Christ said, we should all go steal, look. And that's what's happening. And that's why you have to go back and check. The reason they're doing that is to sow chaos, to sow disinformation. That way radicals can ascend. It's very powerful, potent. It works. It obviously works. There's a huge swath of America who lack the interest to fact check the news. They just watch it, say, oh yeah, that's true. I believe it. Because human nature wants to believe that people in authority are good. That's human nature. It's not in human nature to be skeptical of authority for whatever reason. That's why the book Obedience to Authority, and I forget what his name was, but it's fascinating. It talks about generally humans will listen to those in authority. And so it takes a lot of work to think critically about what's going on in our world. Christianity doesn't exactly promote critical thinking about those in authority. It should, it does not. And that's part of the reason why our country is in the state it's in. So, if you are ever in a situation where there is pure chaos, you need to be very careful, because there is likely the bad is going to rise to the top first. Very rarely does good come out of that. Hitler was fantastic at sowing chaos. He took over Germany with like a third of the vote, but there was pure chaos. And he took over Germany by ascending through the left. The fascists, the socialists, and the communists were all fighting amongst each other. They left the conservatives in Germany alone because conservatives don't do anything. They're the laziest bunch of people out there. They're just going to sit there and think things are the same. So you have to focus on the radicals. And once he demolished and took control of the left, we're seeing this today, the radical, now it's the radical Marxists and the Marxian thinkers that are taking control of the left. Once they have taken control, then they'll just do whatever they want to with America. And you don't even have to worry about conservatives because we don't do anything. We don't show up. We don't organize. We don't rally. That's kind of that's our thing. Our thing is sleepy. And so that's what's happening now. And so you need to be aware of it as a leader, and you need to be aware of that as a Christian and be careful because it's out there and it works.